as the number of Nigeria's COVID-19 cases continue to increase, with Lagos, Kano, and Abuja out in the front as undoubtedly the most critical areas of concern. There are a few other states in the country with very low impact of the pandemic. At least officially, Kogi State in the north-central part of the country is one such area where the government in place continues to boast of winning the war against COVID-19. But not everyone is taking the government's word for it, with persistent reports of reluctance to test suspected cases, and the state sending only one test sample to the Center for Disease Control thus far. In April, NCDC officials on routine assignment to Kogi State were ordered by the state governor to submit themselves to a 14-day period of quarantine or leave the state. To help us examine what may be happening with regard to COVID-19 pandemic in Kogi State, we're now being joined by Eniola Bello, Managing Director of ThisDay and a public affairs analyst. Eniola Bello, good morning. Welcome to the morning show.
Mr. Bello.
Thank you. Morning.
Well, I know you are from Kogi State, and you are a concerned stakeholder, and you must have been monitoring the situation in that state with regard to the management of the COVID-19 pandemic. Only Kogi and Cross River are the two states so far that have not shown up on the COVID-19 league table. The governor insists that there is a lot of experience and knowledge in Kogi State with regard to the management of health problems, public health issues, particularly before now Lassa fever. And it's that experience that has made it possible for Kogi State not to have any case of confirmed COVID-19 so far. What's your assessment? Do you agree with the governor that whatever he's doing is responsible for a no-case situation with regard to COVID-19?
Well, thank you. It's difficult to agree with the governor in that Kogi State, last time I checked, is not an island. It's bordered by about 8 states, from Anambra to Enugu to Ekiti to Ondo to Benue to Nasarawa to Abuja. And yet all these other states, they have confirmed cases. So how come Kogi State will be the only state in that area that will not have a single confirmed case? Something doesn't add up. The governor is known for his, notorious more or less, for his incompetence since he became governor. And I'm not surprised that what is happening now is happening, because it does appear to me as if he's hiding his incompetence behind competing that he is perhaps the only state, that Kogi is the only state without a single confirmed case.
Thank you for that, Mr. Bello. And you're right. I mean, Kogi borders 8 states, so it's quite surprising, especially as a major hub for transports, that we would end up in a situation where apparently Kogi State has no confirmed cases. But I wanted to ask you, why do you think the Governor Eniola Bello is so adamant and so against involvement from the federal government, the NCDC and other agencies? Why do you think he has taken this stance?
Well, I can only suggest that perhaps because he knows that he's not prepared in case there are cases, confirmed cases, that he is not ready in terms of having isolation centers that are well equipped. There are no medical personnel. He has also leadership. Like, he knows that if it is evident that cases are confirmed and people are dying, that it will be a problem for him. Like I said earlier, since he took over as governor, the man has probably done nothing in that state. In his first term, to even pay salary was a problem for him. And the election that brought him back, everybody knew that that was a fact of an election. So it's obvious that the governor knew, or in his mind, that should anything happen, that cases are confirmed, that tests are allowed to take place, and cases are confirmed in Kogi State, that his incompetence would be so obvious that he would not be able to manage the situation. So that was why he appears to be competing to show that in Kogi State there is no single, and fighting all agencies of government in charge of this particular pandemic, so that there will be no case of a single confirmed case in Kogi State.
Well, the presidential task force on COVID-19, in one of the recent briefings, disclosed that the task force is considering sending another team back to Kogi State. That is a team from the Federal Ministry of Health and also from the Center for Disease Control, to go again to test the capacity of Kogi State to be able to trace and test persons for COVID-19. Now, the private sector coalition, known as COVID, has also only recently donated equipment worth millions of naira to Kogi State with regard again to COVID-19. Now, I know you are very critical of the governor, but what advice do you have for him? Should he continue to reject these interventions by the federal government and also private sector stakeholders in the interest of the people of Kogi State, or you think he's just not interested in what happens to the people?
Well, I can only advise him to cooperate with the agency of government and people who have shown concern about development in Kogi State. The fact is that at the end of the day, it's not about him, it's about the people. There are places where people are dying, and when the government reaction is always that people have been dying before, so it's not new. And it's better for the people and for Nigerians to know that tests are carried out, and if there are cases of where people are found to be positive, that they are taken care of. But this filibustering by the governor helps nobody.
Thank you, Mr. Bello. Now, the NCDC Establishment Act of 2018 states clearly that well, it can be argued that it does state that no state really has powers to prevent an agency from performing its statutory duties to prevent, and this is in quote now, to prevent, detect, monitor, and control the activities and programs for the national response against infectious diseases. Now, we have heard that doctors in Kogi State have also complained about the way in which the governor and the government of Kogi State have gone about this situation. They have said that they have patients that they believe have COVID-19 symptoms, etc. So what exactly do you foresee? How do you see this playing out? Because clearly the NMA is completely opposed to what the government of Kogi State is trying to claim.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised at the end of the day that the governor will frustrate every effort of the NCDC because he knows that whatever he does, he can always get away with it, that nothing will happen. Because he says he's a political son of the president. So that's why he's carrying on as if there can be no repercussion to whatever he does.
I mean, it's not as if the governor is running a one-man state. He's not the only person in Kogi State. There are other stakeholders. There are religious leaders. There are the political elite. You have the political elite. Quite a significant number of political leaders also from Kogi State. And we have stakeholders like yourself too. Now, what are these other stakeholders saying? What is their impression? Is there nobody there that is making an effort to let the governor realize that we're talking about science, not his own ego?
Well, I believe most of the stakeholders have been cowed in a way, in that they know the kind of person that character is. Since he became governor, he has been a little, I would say the Kogi State under him has been quite violent. We saw in the last election the kind of violence unleashed on the people, where people could not vote, where there were people were killed, ballot boxes seized and everything. This is a man who is quite reckless. And if you look at the kind of government he runs, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, where he was declared winner at the tribunal, and some officers of state went to greet him, you see Speaker of the House sitting on the floor. You see, he was the only person sitting, others were either standing or sitting on the floor. So that's the kind of person the guy is. He's sitting as an emperor. He has conquered almost every political voice in the states. People are afraid of speaking out in case they are attacked by violent elements. And there was a time where the labor leader once complained about lack of salary payments. The guy disappeared and was killed. Nobody knew what happened to today. So fear, the man is still fear in that state.
Situation. Let's go further. What effect do you see this having on human behavioral change and also strategic communication within the states? Because, I mean, if you're downplaying an entire pandemic and you're making it seem as though you're safe, your people are automatically going to probably think that this pandemic doesn't exist. How do you see that playing out in Kogi?
Well, people are just helpless in a way because they have, in different communities, you have people that are died, that people suspected they died of the pandemic. Unfortunately, the government does not seem to care because tests are not being carried out. So people are generally helpless. And I do think the party, the APC and the president has to intervene to call the government to order.
Well, you keep referring to the election that brought Governor Eniola Bello to office, and you refer to the judgment of the three-man election tribunal yesterday, affirming his election. Now, the PDP has rejected the verdict of that tribunal, and they're insisting that they will rely on the dissenting opinion by Justice Obiageli to push their case to the Court of Appeal. What's your own reaction to that ruling by the election petition tribunal?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Now, I wanted your reaction to the outcome of the petition by PDP before the tribunal. And you know that tribunal affirmed the election of Governor Eniola Bello. However, there was one dissenting judgment by Justice Obiageli, on the basis of which the PDP is saying they will go all the way to the Court of Appeal.
Well, I quite support the PDP's decision to appeal. They should fight that election to the Supreme Court. The thing was all over the place. So social media, the kind of violence and disorder, how ballot boxes was snatched, how a local government that blindly used to votes in some local government were double, if not triple, in some places. A situation where those who voted, the result of ballot boxes in some local governments were more than those people who were accredited to vote. So it was obvious that there was no election in that state during that period. At worst, there has to be a complete re-election. The whole thing should be cancelled. Even if the people is not declared the winner, it should be cancelled.
Thank you. But still on this topic, do you think that it's also the most proactive response to appeal? I mean, of course, that is your right and you have the leeway to do it. But do you think that's the most proactive response, especially in terms of the protection and security of your people, especially given the fact that we're going through a pandemic? How do you react?
Sorry, I missed that, please.
Sorry, Mr. Bello. I said that do you think that even though it is your right now, the PDP's right to appeal, do you think that this is the most proactive response that they can take, especially given the current times that we are living in? We're going through a pandemic. We're trying to ensure the security and stability of the people, especially within states. Do you think this is proactive?
It is their right to appeal because we're talking of democracy, we're talking of justice. It's their right to pursue this appeal to conclusion, following the normal judicial process.
Well, let's talk about the pandemic and the media industry. And I've read quite a number of comments by journalists about how the media in particular is affected. Journalists have lost their lives, and we hear that newspaper houses are having to reconsider their business models. You are managing director of a major newspaper in Nigeria. What have you seen, and how do you see the media industry working on such big issue as business continuity? And do you think government should provide some form of subsidy for the media industry too?
Well, the fact that the media has been heavily affected by this pandemic in terms of sales, in terms of circulation, in terms of moving around. I mean, you know how newspapers are sold in Nigeria? They are sold by vendors, but now it's difficult. People are not buying. Companies are operating at if not closed down for about a month. So generally sales have gone down. And publication has gone down because there are no adverts because of low advertising. Now, if there is a fall in advertising revenue, there's a fall in sales, in corporate sales, it shows that the media needs to think of a way out. And more, there is a thinking now that we should all go digital. That the era of reading news and content free will stop sooner rather than later. That we should all go digital and charge online. And that's what most media houses are looking at.
Wow.
Well, I asked you about subsidy, palliatives. Should the media industry also be given palliatives by government?
The media industry is business, just like any other business. If banks are failing, government intervene because they don't want people to lose their jobs. When other sectors, when there is a problem and they are failing, government intervene. Unfortunately, when it comes to the media, it's convenient for government to pretend not to know. It's a business. And as it is, you see some media houses retrenching, some are paying half salary. So it's a huge, huge business. It depends on what the government wants. If they want more people in the unemployment market, they will decide not to intervene.
Well,
Thank you very
Mr.
much,
Bello.
Eniola Bello. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Certainly.